Hello, I'm Omar Barragan, your host for Connections. This summer marks the 20th anniversary of the historic enactment of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The CTA has made tremendous progress in making its system more accessible over the last 2 decades and remains committed to a bus and rail system accessible to all.
It is one of the greatest pieces of legislation that's come about as far as for people with disabilities.
The CTA agrees.
This act has absolutely radically changed the landscape for people with disabilities.
In the 2 decades since the Americans with Disabilities Act became law, the CTA has evolved into a viable and, in some cases, a sole source of transit for people with disabilities.
Oh yes, it's very important. It meets my needs.
Christopher Smith is deaf and recalls the frustrations of missing his stops before buses and trains had signage.
There was so many challenges. Before there were no announcements or captioning, no visual assistance.
And now?
It's displayed on the board. It's very visual. I think that is just amazing. I mean, compared to 20 years ago, there was nothing. Well, so it is. It's amazing.
Greg Pullman and his guide dog Jackson take the CTA every day to his job at the Chicago Lighthouse for people who are blind and visually impaired.
Route 12.
Automated announcements on buses and trains are crucial for him.
I've seen remarkable changes over time. So when the bus comes up, it announces which bus it is. The same thing with the elevated and the subways, announcing the stops, announcing the color of the train. Those things are very, very important.
All CTA buses now feature Braille signage, automated announcements, LED signage, and ramps.
Our bus fleet became fully accessible in 2005, and that means that all of our buses are equipped with ramps to enable people with mobility impairments to ride the CTA bus easily.
At least 2 cars in each CTA train are accessible to wheelchairs and other mobility devices. All rail cars have Braille signage and automated announcements. And CTA rail stations now have elevators, or ADA-compliant ramps.
As of today, 91 of 144 stations have either a ramp or an elevator to make it easy to access for people who are using a wheelchair or have mobility disabilities. All of our rail stations, even if they are not accessible to wheelchairs, have Braille signage as well as other accessibility features.
Every 2 years, bus and rail car operators receive updated training on helping people with disabilities.
So we make sure that people stay absolutely current on what are the best practices to help people with disabilities.
I think CTA has done an admirable job of training people on how to deal with various different disabilities.
On the rail system alone, it's estimated 500,000 people with disabilities use the CTA each month.
1 in 5 people, it is estimated, have a disability.
The CTA's website has also been revamped to meet federal and state guidelines for accessibility. There's even a video tutorial for customers with mobility, vision, or hearing disabilities. The website also has updates on elevator and escalator outages.
You can also sign up to get email alerts which tell you what the status is of all the elevators on all of our different rail lines. And you can also get a text if you sign up for that as well.
The CTA has come a long way since the Americans with Disabilities Act became law in 1990. The CTA works closely with customers with disabilities and their advocates to build on that progress.
It's not a question of will you do it, it's how are you going to do it, and are you going to do it the best way possible for those of us with disabilities? And I think CTA is committed to going all the way.
In honor of the 20th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Chicago Transit Board passed a resolution pledging support for ongoing initiatives to increase accessibility across the system.